Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us across the fence. I'm Fran Stoddard. A well-known apple orchard in northwestern Vermont is changing hands. After 55 years, Ron and Celia Hackett, the owner of Hacketts Orchard in South Hero, are stepping aside. And taking over the operation is their grandson, Devin. Across the fence's Marco Ayala spoke with grandfather and grandson about the transition.
Hacketts Orchard, as other farms in Vermont, is being passed to the next generation of farmers. In this case, Devin is taking over the family business, and Ron couldn't be happier.
It is going extremely well. I'm pleased. Devin has a lot of pluses. He's good with customers. He can fix anything. He can build anything. Good orchard man, and I think it's going to work very well.
It's been very exciting, and it's going to get more rewarding as it goes on. It's very busy. You go from just being a tractor operator, just having responsibilities to mow, to more day-to-day responsibilities, and it's very rewarding.
I'm very happy that it's been able to happen, because it's difficult today's climate with different businesses, small businesses like this, to see it go from one generation to the next. Celia and I purchased this in '67, so that would make this, I think, either our 54th or 55th year that we have been here. So it's quite a change for us to step aside, but we're both ready.
I'm very fortunate to have the opportunity to take over from my grandfather because of the steps, the improvements he's done. Not necessarily the transition from person to person, but just the transition of the business itself. The upgrades over the years is endless. To new cider making equipment, to new trees, to new mowers, new tractors, new packing line equipment. It's a breath of fresh air, and it's a lot of reassurance that a lot of steps have taken place up to 20 years ago to make it easier and even possible. If he didn't take these steps, it probably wouldn't be feasible to take over the operation.
Right.
Very, very smart planning.
I just think Devin is stepping into, it's a nice orchard that we have here, and to maintain it the way we've kept it, and keep it mowed and neat and clean, and most of the customers come in appreciate that, and it's important to continue to do that.
Excellent. I asked Devin what is one of the biggest lessons he has learned from his grandfather going forward.
Probably patience. Even though one day it may not seem like tomorrow is going to happen, but it does, and everything kind of works out in the end. Things find a way, both with labor, with rain, drought, cold weather. It all works out.
Yep.
Don't fret over the small stuff.
Agriculture, whether it's apples or truck farms or whatever, is difficult. We're so dependent on things that we can't control, mainly the weather. And the weather plays a big part of whether we're successful each and every year. And there's very little we can do about it. It's tough to get used to the fact that you're operating under those kind of conditions, and you have to live with it.
We had a very hard time finding help for the store. We are fortunate to have the Jamaican pickers every year. They weren't delayed at all, which is good, but we really need help in the store.
And of course, I was curious to find out what are their favorite varieties of apples.
That changes throughout the season. During the month of September, I don't think you can beat a Mac. It starts off tart, then it gets that sweet tang, and then it ends sweet. So the month of September, a Macintosh is the apple. And then October, Empire probably. Vermont still has a very strong following for Macintosh, and it should, because it's a good northeastern apple. It grows best here, as Ron said. and it still has a very strong following. However, with new generations of people eating and picking apples come different tastes, and we're starting to see a sweeter trend going for the Fuji's, the Pink Ladies. So the past 5 years we've been planting those newer varieties.
I agree with Devin on the Macintosh early in the season. We can grow it in this climate here in Vermont probably as well as anybody on planet Earth. It does get soft quicker than some fruit. I'm also a fan of Honeycrisp, and I think that's a great apple. We're challenged. There's a lot of problems growing Honeycrisp. It's a tough apple to grow, tough apple to pick because it ripens so uneven, and you have to have the proper color on the fruit for the flavor to be okay. But after we get into October, for the rest of the year, my favorite apple is Honeycrisp.
Finally, I asked Devin for some tips for those of us who like to pick our own apples.
Come dressed for the day, if it's going to be careful picking. Once you pick it, it's yours. Once it's picked from the tree, you can't put it back. So be sure that you're picking the fruit that you want and the fruit that you like. Oftentimes we have a group of 2 apples together. If you pick one, the other one will drop. Pick them both. Turn the apple upside down to pick, and it should fall right off in your hands.
Just like the season changes, so does Hacketts Orchard as they start a new era. However, Ron and Devin prove that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Oh no!
In South Hero, I'm Marco Ayala for Across the Fence.
Thank you, Marco, and our congratulations to the entire Hackett family for the successful transition of their apple orchard business. Another transition is taking place right now, and it's on deep in the waters of Lake Champlain. For our next segment, we see and hear from scientists in the Lake Champlain Sea Grant Institute who provide an interesting look at what happens in the lake from season to season.
Lake Champlain is an extraordinary natural resource nestled between New York, Vermont, and Quebec. But the lake and its tributaries are being negatively affected by human activities on the land. Lake Champlain Sea Grant works to develop and share science-based information to improve the environment and economy of the Lake Champlain Basin.
Lakes are dynamic systems. Throughout the year, Lake Champlain experiences thermal stratification and lake turnover. What happens is occurring below the surface of the water in Lake Champlain from season to season. First, what is lake turnover and thermal stratification? Second, what impact do these events have on aquatic life?
In the same way we visualize shifts in the landscape, the same things are happening at the depths of Lake Champlain throughout the course of the year with the changing of the seasons.
Lake turnover is exactly what it sounds like. Water moves from the top of the water column to the bottom in a mixing event. What is happening in the lead up to these mixing events?
Thermal stratification is the process in which the lake becomes divided into layers based on water temperature and density. As the summer progresses, stratification becomes stronger and will create niche segments throughout the water column.
When the lake is stratified, there is going to be warmer water at the surface and colder water at the bottom of the lake. What you are seeing right now is a visualization of how the lake temperature shifts throughout the year based on physical effects in the atmosphere above, like temperature changes and winds. Lake Champlain turns over twice a year, once in the spring and once in the fall.
The lake begins to cool in the early fall, taking cues from decreasing air temperatures. This cooling process shifts the density of the water, and denser water is heavier, sinking to the bottom of the water column. When it does this, it actually forces the warmer water to the surface.
This cooling process sparks one of the annual lake turnover events in Lake Champlain. What impact does this have on the aquatic organisms that live in Lake Champlain? Lake turnover is an important phenomenon because it allows for the redistribution of oxygen and nutrient-rich surface waters to the deeper waters of the lake.
In the fall, wind moves highly oxygenated surface water to the bottom of the water column. This is incredibly important because once the lake freezes over, it eliminates the opportunity for atmospheric oxygen to be mixed into the water column.
Why doesn't the lake continue to turn over throughout the winter as the temperatures decrease further?
In the winter, ice forms when the lake's surface temperature reaches 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Ice, as we know from ice floating in a glass of water, is lighter and less dense than the water itself. The ice acts as a barrier, preventing the lake from mixing. In addition, it also limits the lake's ability to exchange atmospheric oxygen.
As air temperatures rise in the spring and the ice thaws, the surface of the lake warms, pushing down the colder water, which is denser. This is the second mixing event.
Lake Champlain is a natural treasure. We all have a part to play in protecting it and the waters that drain to it, now and into the future. This video was produced by Lake Champlain Sea Grant, a partnership among the University of Vermont, SUNY Plattsburgh, and the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. To learn more about Lake Champlain Sea Grant and to see other videos in this series, please visit our website.
A very interesting transition. Our thanks to the Lake Champlain Sea Grant Institute. And that's our program for today. Once again, thank you for joining us across the fence. I'm Fran Stoddard. Stay well.